Hello everyone, I am potroastmom. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are reading Dean's Gift Book of Fairy Tales. I decided to hold the mic in my hand because I'm not having very good luck with it this morning. It's not morning, it's afternoon. And besides, sometimes I sigh or take a deep breath into it. So anyways, I'm trying something new. Okay, so I guess I'll be reading this book with one hand. Anyways, my kittens are here. I'll elaborate on 3 of them, but not the 4th. Coupon, not a kitten, 2.5 years old. Big breath out for no reason. Seance, nope. Shriek. How old is Shriek? Shriek and Seance were born May 13th. Okay. Also, I'm back in my non-editing era, my no editing era. And I look forward to staying here with you guys. And I hope you can hear me, because if I go to quote edit, end quote, this and there's no sound, I'm going to have a huge meltdown. Okay. So I got this book from Monstera Books in Overland Park. I'm very excited about it. It has really beautiful illustrations. So I don't know how I'm going to show you the illustrations and keep this mic in my hand, but I'm a genius, so I'll probably figure it out. It was $7, a used hard book. Dean's Gift Book of Nursery Rhymes. This book belongs to... Should I write potroastmom in there? Illustrated by Janet and Anne Graham Johnstone. And these ladies, can I say something to you? Incredibly talented. Look at this. Look at these illustrations. Why did I sign up to do this one-handed? I don't know. Do you guys have any interest in hearing a fairy tale, or are you kind of just going to sleep? Could I get you to wake up at least? You're usually so... No. Okay. So I guess it's just you and me. Do we want to read Cinderella? Oh my God, look at this Cinderella illustration. She is very gorgeous to me. Cinderella is long. Dang, I guess I signed us. Oh, Babes in the Wood. Okay, this is weird. Ooh, I wonder if this is Hansel and Gretel. Look at this. Actually, there are probably more than 2 children who got lost in the woods and had a fairy tale written about them, but right now, off the top of my head, can only think of those 2. No, we're reading this one. We're reading Sleeping Beauty because look at this illustration. I'm shaken to my core. It's so stunning. Okay. Soup. Oh, she's waking up for Sleeping Beauty. Are you excited? Okay. Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time, a great king and queen had a baby daughter. Did you know that you're mine? You're my baby daughter? The princess was to be called Aurora, and the most important fairies in the land were invited to be her godmothers. The kind fairy godmothers gathered round Aurora's cradle to bestow their christening gifts. Why were there 3 wise men and 3 fairies around her? Can I ask that? One gave beauty and the other kindness, cleverness, and good health. Unfortunately, wait, are there only 2 in this story? I can't tell. There was one cross old fairy the queen forgot to ask. At this moment, the nasty old witch arrived in a rage. Me going anywhere. And I, she said, promise that before she is 16, the princess will prick her finger with a spindle and die. Could you imagine trying to explain to Dean in his book of fairy tales that in videos on the internet we don't say die anymore, we say unalive? Okay. No one's waking up for this? Uh-oh, the battery on this is getting low. Oh, no. Okay, so I plugged it in and this better work. I don't know if I need to keep my iPad on. Look, we're just going to go ahead. Everyone in court was horrified, but the poor queen nearly fainted away. Happily, the wisest of the good fairies had hidden behind a curtain when the witch came in. Now she stepped out, and tapping the baby with her wand, she said, "No, little princess, you shall not die, but fall asleep for 100 years. A noble prince will wake you with a kiss." Okay. The old witch swept out of the palace, muttering angrily, and the king and queen thanked the fairy joyfully for saving their child. Is that a save? That very day, the king passed a law forbidding anyone to use a spindle within 10 miles of the royal palace. Why not 20? Okay. Are they using miles in this era? Every year that passed, Princess Aurora grew more beautiful and more beloved by all who knew her. She was always kind and gay. She made everyone else as happy as herself. She sang like a nightingale and was quick and clever as anyone you can imagine. There was not a dog, cat, or horse. See, they didn't use the Oxford comma, and that's upsetting towards me. At the palace that did not greet her joyfully. She was as much a favorite with animals as with people. The only thing Aurora could not do, as well as any girl in the kingdom, was sew. Her parents were so terrified of her pricking herself that she'd never even seen a needle or pin. The day before her 16th birthday, Princess Aurora was trying to keep out of the way while everyone wrapped her birthday presents. Wandering the steps of the tallest tower in the palace, the princess came to a tiny room she had never been in before. There sat a funny old woman, bent with age, distaff, topped with flax. Oh, I skipped a sentence. Tucked under the old woman's arm was a distaff topped with flax and a spindle. I don't think I said that right. Spinning from a long thread swung her hand. "Oh, do let me try that, please," called Aurora, who had never seen a spindle before. "It looks such fun." "Of course, my dear child," croaked the old woman. But as she took the spindle, the princess pricked herself on its sharp little point. A tiny drop of blood fell from her finger, and Aurora sank slowly to the floor. I can't believe no one's waking up for this. As for the old woman, who was the wicked fairy in disguise, how was she in disguise if she sat a funny old woman bent with age? Okay, whatever. She flew cackling out of a window and crying, "Now I am revenged. You did not escape me." She disappeared. When the princess was found lying in the little room by her lady in waiting, the king and the queen were in despair. The king, realizing his daughter was not dead but in a deep sleep, had laid her on a beautiful bed of white and gold in the middle of the great hall. There she lay, looking so pretty and smiling. hold on. As if she was having a lovely dream. As they turned sadly away, the king and queen saw the fairy who had helped them before standing beside them. She waved her wand, murmuring a spell, and a bright shower like stars floated around the palace. As if from far away came the sweet sound of soothing music. The king and queen wandered drowsily to the throne room and sat nodding on their thrones. All through the palace, people started to fall asleep. The cooks, the kitchen fires, the soldiers in the guard room, the grooms, and the horses in the stable. Lord Chamberlain snored in his office, and a scullery maid lay dreaming amid the kettles and pots. In the royal mews, the hawks hunched their feathered shoulders and shut their eyes. Even the butterflies in the garden went to sleep in the flowers. Princess Aurora's little dog, who had jumped into the bed beside her, fell asleep with his chin resting on the princess's arm. Why does this dog remain unnamed? I need to know if his name was like Fluffy or Sparkle. One moment all was busy. Knights were playing music for their lady. Pages were bustling to and fro. Duchesses were gossiping, and the court fool was dancing merrily. Can I just say I would be the most incredible court jester? Like, as the world descends into chaos, please understand, I have a plan. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what skill I possess that is going to get me through. Okay. As the spell started working, everyone yawned, blinked their eyes, and sank down to sleep. Dogs, cats, even fish for dinner slumbered peacefully. Little roses grew twining around the pillars of the silent palace. All around the place, Aurora's fairy godmother grew thick woods of brambles, thorns, and great trees. As the years passed, people forgot the king, queen, and Princess Aurora. Some people believed the palace belonged to a witch or a dragon. Those who saw the tops of the towers above the trees and tried to reach them found the thorn hedge much too thick to pass. This is so stinking cute. Look at this. So 99 years, 11 months, and 30 days passed by. Then came the day that would complete the 100 years. A young prince whose father ruled the neighboring kingdom was out hunting with his courtiers. Trying to take a shortcut through the woods, the prince got lost, and he and his horse wandered all day, trying to find the rest of the hunt. As they came to the top of the hill, the prince was astonished to see, stretching before him, a great forest. Above the trees and towers and roofs of a distant Above the trees, the towers and roofs of a distant palace twinkled in the sunshine. The prince was wondering whose palace it might be when Aurora's fairy godmother appeared before him. She told the astonished prince that in the palace was the loveliest princess in the world. I say that when I talk about my house. I say here, where I live, there are some of the most lovely princesses in the world. Shriek, wake up. Wake up, please. Okay, they don't care. You can rescue her from an enchanted sleep if you are brave and determined, said the fairy. But to get to her, you will have to pass through the great thorn hedge that surrounds the palace. The prince thanked the fairy with a polite bow. Filled with excitement, he rode towards the enchanted forest. As he drew near, he saw wood was indeed a tangled mass of huge thorn bushes. I think this is the fairy godmother appearing before what's his name? Not wishing his horse to be torn by the brambles, the prince dismounted in his absolutely stunning little tunic and short set. Big sleigh. Left his charger grazing under the trees. Next, sword in hand, he started to hack a path through the thorn hedge. Great was his surprise when, after a few minutes, the fierce thorns turned into beautiful, brilliantly colored flowers. That is not spelled the U.S. English way. I wonder where this came from. Quickly, the prince made his way to the palace and up the stone steps. Here, I'm stumbling through these 2 pages. Have I been cursed by a fairy? No. I have to imagine fairies would love me. Like, I'm always getting up to something. I don't ever want to do what I'm supposed to. And I'm just sort of always laying around. Like, I'm a fairy's dream. Okay. Here, the door was guarded by 2 tall sentries who had been snoring gently for 100 years. Into the great hall strode the young prince, his footsteps echoing in the strange silence. The prince marveled at the sleeping courtiers who lay round in their old-fashioned clothes, now 100 years out of date. In the center of the room, he saw the big white and gold bed. Lying fast asleep on the bed was the most beautiful girl the prince had ever seen. Her fine, long golden hair flowed over the pillows. She wore a little crown and the prettiest pale blue dress edged in gold. Asleep besides the princess, Mopster. Oh, he does have a name. Mopser. Mopser. Her little dog dreamed he was having a delicious bone. Imagine 100 years worth of dreams that were scrumptious. Okay, stunning. At the side of the bed, her faithful little page dreamed of the day he would be a great knight. For a moment, the handsome prince stood gazing at the beautiful golden-haired girl, wondering how he could break the spell. Stooping, he kissed her gently on the cheek. Instantly, Princess Aurora opened her lovely blue eyes and looked at him. It's so hard to do this with one hand. Oh, okay, I hate where this is going. The prince, who had fallen madly in love with her in the 15 seconds he's seen her and kissed her unconscious body, took Aurora by the hand and begged her to marry him. All around them, the palace was waking up. Guards shouldered their pikes. Ladies straightened their headdresses. Little Mopster yawned. Mopser. Although I will say it is kind of funny that I'm saying mobster. And wagged his tail, and Aurora's page looked up in astonishment. In the stables, the horses woke, and the grooms started grooming them. The cooks in the kitchen started puddings and sauces, and the fire roasted the joints and the head butler refreshed himself with a cup of wine. Okay, I don't drink anymore and I am sober, but I have to tell you, imagine waking up from 100 years sleep and the first thing you do is have a glass of wine. The ultimate relapse. The king and queen came in from the throne room and hurried to embrace their daughter. Then, thanking the prince warmly for breaking the spell, they agreed that he and Princess Aurora would be married. Messengers were sent to fetch the prince's father and mother, and when they arrived, the wedding was held with great rejoicing. The kind fairy was the guest of honor among kings, queens, distinguished magicians, and fairies. Not long after, their parents retired and the prince and Aurora became king and queen. They lived happily and had many children. And you may be sure they asked all the right fairies to the christening. That's so funny. And the next story, well, first of all, I have a story to tell you from my personal life, but the next one is Puss in Boots, which I'm obsessed with. That goes so hard. Okay, hold on. We'll put this to the side for a second because I do have something to tell you, even though these are absolute god tier illustrations. I mean, stunning. Absolutely stunning. Okay. So, you may remember that I've been on a housing journey, a journey to find a home because eventually, I'm sorry, I just love picking at your eye boogers. I'm sorry. I am going to get in trouble because there are not this many cats on my lease. Let me just say that. Okay? Anyways, I get a DM and I don't recognize the person's name. And next to their name, it says realtor in all caps. And then it has like a little copyright thing. And then it has a blue check mark, which you guys know you can buy those on Instagram, right? So I'm like highly suspicious. It's like I have off-market properties. I'm offloading all the time. Whatever. I'd love to help you with your small budget. Because I had been posting on my Instagram story the kind of houses they were selling in Kansas City for under $250,000, which was one, houses maybe worth $200,000 that were way overpriced, or houses that were maybe worth more than $250,000 but were, oh, stretch it, sister, head to toe, top to bottom in mold. Are you waking up? Are you waking up for my story? So whatever, I ignore that DM, right? I read it. I think I told my real estate agent about it. By the way, my real estate agent is named Stephanie, and I love her, Stephanie Snowden Stabell. And if you are looking to buy or sell in Kansas City, I cannot say enough good things about her. I love this woman. Okay? So I think I told Stephanie about it, and she was like, yeah, maybe, but it could just be a scam since you have a big platform. And I was like, you know what, maybe. And so then I posted the house that was like really moldy. Like it had black mold on one of the ceilings, and the description was that it was a textured ceiling. And the person who sent the DM, the realtor copyright checkmark, said the way I know exactly where this listing is. And then they named the street it was on, and I hadn't posted that. I had just posted like a random picture. And in hindsight, yeah, they could have just reversed Google image the search, but reversed Google image searched the photo. But I responded and I was like, you know what? If they really know where that listing is, maybe they really do sell a lot of real estate in North Kansas City. And so I'll respond. And I said, like, yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm starting to lose hope. I'm starting to think maybe I should like try to find a small house that isn't moldy. I wasn't like losing hope, but I was losing hope, And so whatever, I respond to this person and they're like, actually, I have a friend of a friend who has an off-market property in the area you're looking. They're asking $250,000 for it, which is my budget, you remember? That was the top of my budget. And they went and got themselves an offer from, I think it's called Open Door. So my realtor, Stephanie, was telling me that's like a corporation in Kansas City where they will offer you money for your house. I think they either rent it or flip it. But usually they will rip you off. Like they'll offer you a lot of money and then say, oh, by the way, you have to fix 23 things before we will buy this from you. And so one of these people's friends who was a real estate agent got wind of them doing this sale, and she got wind of it on like a Thursday. I got wind of it on a Friday. The deal with Open Door expired on a Sunday. And this real estate agent, because she's a good friend, was like, no, money will be left on the table if you go through with this. You have put so much character, so much work into your home. Like, you've spent years making it cute and cozy and like adorable in here. You don't want to sell it to a corporation. And they were like, no, we don't want to sell it to a corporation. And so whatever, I got wind of it on a Friday morning. So I gave the girl in the DM my real estate agent's phone number. I was like, just call her. And so she called her the next morning, not her, the friend of a friend. And whatever, I go to see it on Friday at like noon. My real estate agent is out of town, so I go with my grandma. My grandma, I can't think of an adjective to describe her, but they asked us to take off our shoes and she wasn't wearing socks, and you have to understand that she will never, ever let that go. Okay, anyways, I tour it. I'm literally obsessed. They have turned the third, like, it would be a really small bedroom, into an office with like, it's a library. Like, it has library shelves. Sold. So whatever, I become so obsessed with this house and these people, and they're like literally so nice, and I just like them so much. And I go back with my real estate agent the next day, and then we're talking about the basement floods, which, by the way, if you're looking for 250 in Kansas City, something's cracked, okay? Something is cracked. And she's like, and the deck out back is like rotted. It needs to be like torn down. And she was like, yeah, I just don't think this is the one for you. Like, we're not going to pay $250 for this house, and we're not going to be pushed into making an offer because their offer expires on Sunday. I will not let them pressure you like that. And then we started talking about how she has some listings for like $220 coming available pretty soon. And so I shouldn't lose hope, right? And so I'm like, okay. And we leave. And I think, you know what? There's definitely a house out there for me. It's okay that it's not this one. I guess I could build a library in another house. By the way, I would never do that. I'm not a DIY girl. And when I buy this, there's going to be not one single dollar left over. So it would have to be years down the road. So then I saw it with my real estate agent on Saturday, and we decided, Saturday night, their real estate agent kept calling mine. So the seller's real estate agent, who was actually just their friend helping them out, kept calling mine and said, well, could you just put in an offer because they really like her? Who would not like me, to be honest? I'm mad charming when I'm not being a weirdo and a freak. Anyways, they really like her, and my real estate agent said, okay, we will put in an offer of what I think is fair, which is $235, and then you have to do, they had received a bid to do $5,000 worth of foundation work to have the basement fixed, right? And they accepted it. To choose me over a corporation like that, which essentially that's like $20K less, right? And maybe you would have ended up losing that much with Open Door on how much stuff they wanted you to fix. But to choose me over a corporation, that act of like human kindness, that's so punk rock. That is so CUNTY. Yeah. That's going to go ahead and do it for me. I love that. So whatever, now we're under contract. Turns out what's wrong with the basement has nothing to do with the foundation. It has everything to do with the grading around the house. So like it goes this way. And pretty famously, it's supposed to go this way. So when it rains, the water runs away from the house. But when it rains, the water runs towards the house. So whatever, they're going to fix that. There was also like this was so funny. There was a little bit of asbestos in the basement. Well, maybe asbestos, but the inspector saw it. We sent them the pictures. Hold on, where am I? Okay. My real estate agent gave them 2 companies to contact, and one of the companies they sent photos of it to. So that's absolutely not asbestos. It's a small area underneath the stairs. I bet it's like from here to here, so like half of the bed. Anyways, hold on. I've been doing so good, and all of a sudden I'm losing my thoughts. Why is that happening towards me? Is it because I'm hungry? That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So this first company said that's absolutely not asbestos. We don't need to come out and test that. The second company said that is absolutely 100% asbestos. You need to pay us $300 because we'll come out to test it. And then once it is asbestos and it tests positive, we will actually come out and clean it for a minimum of $2,000. And these people are selling their house because they're not in a financial position to keep their house, right? So they don't have asbestos cleanup money. Can I ask you this? Who does in this economy? And so they're just going to board it up since it's such a small area and it's in like the unfinished part of the basement. So it has like 2 doors before you get to that will both be closed. So the cats can't get back there anyways. But if they did, it would be boarded up. Whatever. So I'm telling my aunt about this. My aunt who's an art teacher. I don't know if I've really talked about her a lot. And she lives in a house that's like way over 100 years old, and everything is wrong with that house. It has so many cracks in it, but it's so cute, and she's made it so cute. And when it rains, she puts her rain boots at the top of the stairs because the basement floods every single time, and not like a trickle. That biatch floods, okay? Hold on, I feel like I have to burp maybe. Okay, that was very gross, my bad. Excuse me. So I'm telling my aunt about the asbestos. Everyone in my family is so unintentionally funny. And she goes, I hear asbestos, I'm not even concerned. Asbestos means nothing to me. The house I grew up in, she points at my grandma, who's her mom, asbestos siding. The college I went to, the ceiling of my dorm, asbestos. In my basement right now, everything is wrapped in asbestos tape. Asbestos means nothing to me. And I'm like, okay, you little bad ASS. I don't want to have to edit these words out, and I don't want to get demonetized. You see what I'm going for? Anyways, I just thought that was so funny, and I was like, well, I'm a little afraid of asbestos. Although I am full of microplastics. I have no doubt about it. So it's kind of like what it is. Anyways, that's the story I wanted to tell you. We're under contract. I'm literally so excited to buy this house. I am selling stickers of a new merch design. I'll add it. I'll do that. I'll do that in editing right here. Okay. So the stickers and magnets are on Redbubble. They are not on my potroastmom website yet because the manufacturer for the merch through my website takes the money for the merch out of my checking account. You should get a credit card. I'm buying a house. Okay, they're not going to be super chill if I open a credit card right now. Out of my account immediately, and that would really damage my money situation. Also, my potroastmom.com one does not have magnets. Anyways, oh my God, that's my hair. Gross. Eventually, it will be on clothing, on other items in my potroastmom shop. But right now, it's only on Redbubble because Redbubble asks for nothing up front. Granted, my profit off each of those stickers is 86 cents, I think, but whatever, they're fun. And another way to support me, obviously, always joining my Patreon. You can do $3 a month. You can do it for 1 month, and that would help, you know? And what else? That's it. And I love you. Okay, should we do one more fairy tale before we go? Do we want to do Puss in Boots? This kind of reminds me of some pictures I have of me and my brother when we're 12 months apart. And when I was a little girl, I had very blonde hair and he had dark hair. And we were really good friends because the same bad things that happened to me happened to him, ultimately. These Puss in Boots illustrations are like, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Uh-oh, is someone waking up? Hi, Stinky. Hi. Me. Literally me. Should we read this one? What is this? Tom. Oh, is it Tom Thumb? We're doing it. Tom Thumb. Once upon a time, Merlin the magician was on his travels through the countryside when he stopped to rest at the cottage of a farmer and his wife. They were a kind and happy pair, but they told Merlin how much they longed for a son, even if he were only the size of my thumb, declared the farmer. Even if it was the size of my thumb, I still wouldn't want to have responsibility for a child. And that's all I'm saying. I would like a cat the size of my thumb, though. Could you imagine? And actually, I want a huge cat, like bigger than a tiger, but like a house cat. I want it to be like this tall. I want to be able to ride it and I want to be able to sleep on it. Okay. The magician decided to grant their wish, and the pair did indeed have a son. He was a fine little fellow, but he never grew any larger than a thumb, so he was always called Tom Thumb. Little Tom had lots of fun being so small, but it had its disadvantages also. His bigger friends liked games with cherry stones, and one day Tom amused himself by creeping into the bag which held the stones and stealing them. The big boys pretended to be cross and tied him up into the bag until he hopped about in a temper. Some adventures were not his own fault. Me defending any of my children. One day the farmer's cow saw little Tom hopping gaily through the grass, and she snapped him up with a mouthful of sweet green grass. "Oh, I must get out of here," said Tom. What a funny thing to say when you've just been eaten by a cat. What is that one guy in the Bible eaten by? A whale? Shout out to that guy. He wiggled and tickled until the cow gave a huge sneeze. Poof, poof. Out popped Tom right into his mother's outstretched apron. Tom spent many happy hours on the kitchen table while his mother did her baking. She warned him about falling into things, and he did his best to keep out of mischief. One day, however, he grew careless and reached out for a currant in the pudding his mother was preparing. He overbalanced and fell plop into the sticky mixture. Tom's mother, in a hurry as usual, tied the cover on the basin and fastened Tom inside. She popped the pudding into a pan where it soon began to bounce about in the hot water. "What's the matter with the pudding today?" thought Tom's mother uneasily, hoping it would stop, but it did not stop. As the water grew hotter, poor Tom kicked about more. Wait, this is so dark and scary towards me. "Mercy, the pudding is bewitched," cried the poor woman. She lifted the pan and threw the noisy pudding as far as it would go. It hit a wandering tramp on the head with a bump. As he rubbed his head, he peered at what had hit him, and he saw it was a nice big pudding. He lifted it high with glee. "It must be magic pudding to appear from nowhere," chuckled the tramp. "It will taste good." But he never had a chance to try it because at that moment, Tom let out a yell for someone to rescue him. Dying by pudding? That reminds me of that scene in The Grinch when he does the annual pudding tasting. Is it pudding? And then the one old guy goes, and this is not a pudding. Okay. I gotta turn the page. The tramp thought the pudding was a little too enchanted for him, and he threw it away, running. More hair is stuck to me. Running off as far as he could, the basin bumped against a stone, and luckily for Tom, it smashed, and he was able to crawl out and go home to wash off the sticky pudding. Tom's mother made him a parasol from a handkerchief, and he used it to sail up through the air holding it. One day, a big bird thought that Tom was a gay insect, good to eat. He swooped down and picked Tom up. They flew over the hill and dale before the bird saw his mistake and dropped Tom in disgust. I have to imagine if a bird found a tiny person, they'd eat it. Yeah. Down fell Tom towards a huge castle perched on a rocky crag overlooking the sea. The sea breeze puffed Tom through a window into a room where an enormous giant was eating his breakfast porridge. When little Tom fell plop into his porridge, the giant just spooned Tom up into his great mouth. Tom kicked so hard that the giant plucked him out and tossed him away as if he were a fly. Tom's troubles were by no means over. That's what the narrator in my life said right after Potroast died. Potroastmom's troubles were in no way over. He floated quietly with the breeze to the silvery sea where he rested as light as a thistledown. Tom enjoyed this until a big fish popped out his head and eyed him curiously. I wonder if you are good to eat, he said. No, I'm not, cried Tom. Everybody likes eating me. But this fish swallowed him. Bible. Where Tom would have been this day if the king's fishermen had not caught that very same fish soon afterwards. The fish was cooked very lightly and, fortunately for Tom, served on a silver platter before the king. This looks good, smiled the king, serving a slice to himself. It was the very slice of fish in which Tom, tired out with his adventures, was dozing. You get eaten by a fish and you fall asleep. Real. He stretched out his arms and yawned right in the king's face. The king was delighted with the little fellow and invited him to live at the court for good. Tom told the king about his parents, and the kind monarch gave him a sack of gold to take home and tell them of his good fortune. Come back, Tom, said the king, and Tom promised. Tom enjoyed being with his parents again, but after a time he remembered his promise to the king. Bidding his father and mother a loving goodbye, Tom started back into the court again. What new and strange adventures lay ahead for him, and for that there would be lots more such adventures, he had not the slightest doubt. I am one of those people who are simply bound to have adventures, he thought to himself as he journeyed along. How pleased the king was when Tom returned to the court. Work. See, this is, I think, one of my favorite illustrations in the book. It could really, truly be framed. Tom told the king how grateful his parents were for the sack of gold and how glad he was to be back at court once more. We must have some fashionable clothes made for you, Tom, said the king. Clothes that really befit a loyal and well-loved courtier of mine. He sent the royal shirtmakers, shoemakers, and famous fairy tailor. And oh, how proud Tom was when this wonderful new clothes were finished. A poem was written by one of the king's courtiers. Of butterfly wings his shirt was made, his boots of chicken hide, and by a nimble fairy blade. All learned in the tailoring trade, his coat was well supplied, a needle dangled at his side, and thus attired in stately pride, a dapper mouse he used to ride. Tom Thumb, you're so cute. Okay. Tom commenced on some amazing adventures almost at once. One day he was wandering through the countryside and stepped right in front of a huge toad who was mistaking Tom for some kind of large insect, flicked out its tongue, and if it had not been for a passing butterfly, Tom would have gone down the toad's throat. The butterfly carried Tom safely back to court, and Tom told the butterfly to go to the royal rose gardens, for the nectar of the roses was the sweetest in the whole land. When Tom asked the butterfly if he would kindly take him to visit the queen of the fairies, the butterfly gladly agreed. The queen was enchanted when she saw Tom. "Why, you must be a fairy too," she gasped. But Tom assured her that he was indeed a mortal. Then she gave him a pair of tiny fairy gloves woven from thistledown and told him whenever he wanted to visit her, all he had to do was put on the gloves and say, "Little magic gloves of green, take me to the fairy queen," and they would do so. One night, Tom thought he would play a prank on the royal chambermaids. I don't love where this is going, Tom. As they went from bedroom to bedroom, lighting the candles in the sticks on the royal dressing tables, Tom would dart from behind a mirror, vase, or trinket box and snuff the candles out. Oh dear, the maids did get cross and start blaming each other. Pitting women against each other is not chill, Tom. Are you waking up? Okay. Okay. Every month, Tom would mount a carrier pigeon named Swift Wing and fly off to visit his parents and tell them stories of his wonderful life at court. His parents loved the stories Tom told, especially the one where a spider spun her web round him while he was asleep, and Tom had to pierce it with his trusty needle sword to escape. The spider did get a fright, laughed Tom. One Christmas, the king sent the royal coach to fetch Tom's parents to the court for Christmas dinner. What a fine time they had, especially when the king pulled out a large cracker with Tom's father, and out popped Tom himself, holding a motto which read, "The very smallest person can be a big success." I have to be real, I don't love the end of that. That doesn't make sense towards me. Okay. I don't know how long we've been going. What else is in here? This is another really beautiful illustration. Like, word. Are you waking up? Are you awake? Okay. I think I'll just flip through and show you a few illustrations. Oh my God, work. A strange creature known as a genie appeared. That's me whenever someone mentions crab rangoon. I appear. Yeah, I appear. Aladdin. Oh, Hansel and Gretel. So there are two separate stories of two children who got lost in the woods. Just making sure. This is also another scrumptious illustration. Do you like it? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to do something very Trisha Paytas-y, where I just pose for the thumbnail. Could you come over here and pose with me? She's like, no, not a single day in my life. How do I want to do this? Hi, Stinky. Could I hold you? You're my most trusted. You getting the purse? Are you gonna wake up? She's just the ultimate bottle baby because she's just so relaxed in every situation. Okay. All right. Soup, you're the only one who didn't really come awake for this. That's fair enough. She's been in enough YouTube videos. Okay. Thank you for joining. If you want me to read more stories out of this, I can do that for you. I don't know if this counts as ASMR or just a gentle time. I don't even know if the microphones are working and I'll have to delete this whole thing. Okay. I love you. I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous day. I hope you feel relaxed. I hope you feel like there's joy that remains in the world. I hope the story of me and my house restores a little bit of your faith in humanity because good people are out there. And we are nothing without our deep, deep love of our fellow human beings and the creatures that surround us. And that's all. And that's all. Okay. I love you. Big kiss. See you next week. Right? Okay. Bye.